Hey everybody, it's Terensu again. Just a quick little thing here. I have to be at the airport to pick up my wife from a business trip in about 1 hour and 1 minute. But before I do that, since we uploaded Tekken 1 and 2 last night, I thought we'd do a quick one over with Tekken 3. I'm going to be using Ogre, the only character I was ever any good at in Tekken 3. No Lee Chaolan in this one, guys, so I was kind of at a loss. Still a great Tekken, not one of my favorites, and it's not just because of the absence of Lee. I kind of have a love-hate relationship with Tekken 3 because it's got some great things like Tekken Force and Tekken Ball and Practice, and everything's great in here, but I don't know, it just didn't seem to have that air of mystery about it that Tekken 2 had. But anyway, I'm actually going to change up some settings here. We're going to keep that on the default. We are going to go 60 seconds. We're also going to change the music back to the arcade soundtrack because I prefer it to the remixed in Tekken 3. I bought this game at Walmart for $15 several years. It was right as the PS1 games were starting to be phased out at Walmart, and they had this game, the greatest hits, for $15. And it was very well worth it, a great purchase. If you look here, Anna Williams was actually added to the port. She just occupied the same slot as Nina in the arcade version. It's just a quick little thing that won't cost you anything.
Round 1.
So you're hearing Jin's arcade theme, which I just think is so much better than his remixed version. One thing that is I really do like about Tekken 3 is the movement. It's very modern. This kind of set the tone for 4, 5, and 6 because movement was very restricted in 1 and 2, whereas in the third installment you can move almost as free as you want. This isn't necessarily a good or a bad thing, but the CPU is also very forgiving compared to 1 and 2. And a lot of that's just the added movement. You can move so much easier in this one.
Round 1. Fight.
So Tekken 3 in the arcade had fully 3D backgrounds, but for the PlayStation port they just made them like they were in the old Tekkens, and basically you have that weird flat plane with a background that's not attached in the background, if that makes sense. Once again, I imagine that's very disoriented for the actual fighters themselves. I remember one time I went to a place where the horizon and the ground didn't match up, and it was awful.
Round 1. Fight.
Unfortunately, sub-boss characters in Tekken 3 all had the same soundtrack, so you'll get to hear that song probably in a minute. So I believe the way that works is that the arcade cabinet had designated several characters as sub-boss characters, even though no one had dedicated sub-bosses anymore. And at certain points in the arcade ladder, you would face characters like Kuma and Gunjack and the others that were not unlocked initially. Props to Namco, though, when they ported the game, they actually gave all those guys their own theme songs, but you have to use the remixed version of the soundtrack to hear it.
Round 1. Fight.
King is one that's got a great arcade theme. I prefer it to his other one any day. Check out the paw prints on the bottom of the boots there. Robert Belgrade, who is the voice of Alucard in Symphony of the Night, He also did the announcing for this game as well as Tekken 1 and 2. But I always thought he enunciated a bit too much in this game. Like, listen to the "you win." You win.
Round 1. Fight.
Check out these advanced strats I'm using. Even though that's like a 2D background, I feel like this stage is one of the better looking ones. Like, it looks semi-3D. Funny enough, this is Law's stage, but Lei Wulong's ending actually takes place in this background setting. Here's that sub-boss theme I was telling you about. Julia Chang is actually one of my least favorite characters in Tekken. I really preferred Michelle. Tekken 3, one thing that I don't like about it as far as the story's concerned is it kind of made Jin the poster boy for the series, and in doing so, in creating a new character, the son of Kazuya, they had to basically advance time 20 years to make him old enough to fight. So what this did was it made all the other characters really old. So like Michelle was probably like late 40s, early 50s. So they introduced her adopted daughter Julia to take her place, and Hwarong to take Bayek's place, and so on and so forth. Tekken 3 is also the first game to introduce a character that mimics everybody else's fighting style randomly in Mokujin. I can't believe that hit. That's actually one of Kunimitsu's moves that some people think that Ogre attacked Kunimitsu in between Tekken 2 and 3. You might have noticed a little gap there in the sound, and that was where Mokujin was loading a new fighting style. If I had to guess. So yeah, the story in Tekken 3. So at the end of the King of Iron Fist Tournament 2, Heihachi came back and defeated Kazuya, his son, and reclaimed the Mishima Zaibatsu as his own. And at the end of the tournament, Kazuya and Jun Kazama had a little fling, and so Jin is born to Jun out in the freaking wilderness somewhere. Probably in rural Wisconsin or something like that. And he basically grows up in the wilderness learning from her. Meanwhile, Heihachi accidentally uncovers Ogre using the Tekken Force. And Devil, who was possessing Kazuya at the end of Tekken 2, is trying to possess Jin, but Jun drives it off or something, and then we have Ogre come, and this is a big source of argument in the Tekken community. Like, Jun is listed as missing in the Tekken canon, but she hasn't had a canonical appearance since Tekken 2. And so it's just assumed that Ogre killed or did something to her so that she went away. And so Jin basically seeks out Heihachi here, who's once again a sub-boss, and says, you know, you gotta train me so that I can get revenge. And Heihachi doesn't really give a frick about Jin, but he does want to lure Ogre out, and he figures that Jin is the best way to do that. So he trains him to be like Kazuya so that we get that replacement for the Kazuya fighting style. And basically they hold the tournament again to draw out Ogre. As you can guess, it's a smashing success. Ogre is drawn out. Paul Phoenix actually defeats him, and then Jin Kazama defeats True Ogre. So Paul leaves thinking he won the tournament and just like his check was in the mail or something. But Jin stayed behind and beat True Ogre. And afterwards, Heihachi shot him in the head, which didn't kill him, but caused him to turn into Devil Jin. And I've just lost to Heihachi, I don't believe it. I guess I should shut up and focus on the match.
Round 1.
And we were making great time, too. Yeah, if I had lost again, I wouldn't think this was going too well. Oh, come on, Ogre. You mean to tell me you couldn't get one hit?
You win.
Here's another stylistic thing I didn't care for in Tekken 3. In Tekken 1 and 2, they had clever ways for you to avoid mirror matches. But in Tekken 3, they're like, even if you play as Ogre, you still face Ogre. If I remember correctly, I do believe Heihachi will always face Jin on the Heihachi stage. But if you're Ogre, you still face Ogre as the final boss. Which doesn't make any sense. I guess it was because they would have had to have made a separate character and that would have been too much work. I mean, who would Ogre fight besides, like, Devil or somebody? I want to check out Ogre's ending here, which I believe is canon, because he does transform into true Ogre, obviously. The Tekken. So now how about a little treat? So many of you know there's Tekken Force mode. Let's show that right quick. So here's Tekken Force mode. And basically in Tekken Force, you pick a character and you go through like a beat-em-up type thing. We'll pick Heihachi just because he's Heihachi. It's kind of like a Streets of Rage, like beat-em-up type thing. Check out that waste management dumpster back there. Now this is the earliest incarnation of beat-em-ups in Tekken console releases. Tekken 4 had a Tekken Force mode, but no one really remembers that one. I guess this one was so novel that everybody remembers it. But if you'll notice, I'm fighting members of the endgame story Tekken Force. So that's what the Mishima Zaibatsu uses to do its dirty work, is the Tekken Force. I do love the way Robert says chicken when you pick that up. Chicken! Could you imagine being at the recording studio that day and like, okay, we're doing this thing called Tekken Force. We need you to say, like, chicken. You mean like chicken? No, like you picked up a chicken. Chicken. No, chicken. And so he decides on chicken. We're almost to the end here. I think each character has a different boss on the stages, and Heihachi's always the last boss or something like that. So anyway, that's Tekken Force. So let's do something a little neat. Those are the Tekken Force enemies. They're NPCs, unless I've gone and picked gun. Hold on a second. Well, how embarrassing, it's not working. So I wanted to showcase playing as the Tekken Force enemies. I'll try one more time. There we go. So Crow actually gets a free hit when he starts the match, because when he enters the screen in Tekken Force mode, it's with an attack. Mostly these guys have, I think, Jin and Heihachi's moves, but they're very watered down. Like you've got this kick and like 1/2 of the twin pistons combo and a few other things he can do. Yeah, like none of these moves work. I don't even think he has a throw either.
Round 1, fight.
This is actually a different variation of Crow. He sucks too. But yeah, that's pretty much it for Tekken 3. Unless we do Tekken Ball mode right quick. Or not. Apparently you can't do Tekken Ball mode with Crow or Owl or any of the Tekken Force guys. So that's that. I've got to start getting ready to go here in a minute, so we'll wrap it up there. We'll see you next time, everybody.